Douglas Avenue here in Racine, across from Douglas Park. We specialize in 1-year-old, low mileage, almost new cars. And if you'd like to stop by and see them, or see them on our website, bobweberautomart.com, we could save you between $5,000 and $10,000 on your next almost new car purchase.
Welcome into another edition of Sports Junkies here at RacinSportsZone.com. I'm Steve Sparky Fifer, along with WSSP basketball insider and also writer for the Racine Journal-Times here at RacinSportsZone.com. One of the top 5 basketball insiders in the country. He is Gery Woelfel.
Checks in the mail.
Checks in the mail. Bucks, very, very happy, I am sure, with getting the number 2 pick last night in the NBA draft lottery. Cleveland Cavaliers win again. Now, I understand LeBron James is no longer in Cleveland, and I understand that the Cavaliers obviously need to figure out how to draft better. So the Cavaliers will get another chance at hoping not to get another Anthony Bennett pick this year, as they are at 1. So they're at 1. At 2 are the Milwaukee Bucks. At 3 and 10 are the Philadelphia 76ers. So the Bucks now don't have the pressure of having to pick from one of the 3. They'll have the pressure of picking from one of 2, we think. We don't think Dante Exum or Julius Randle are really in play here, but it should be between Parker, Wiggins, and Embiid for that pick at number 2.
I'm always amazed that people say, hey, they don't have the pressure. Hey, this is a high-pressure job. It's the National Basketball Association. If you can't handle the pressure, get out of it, you know? I mean, you want the number 1 pick in the worst way. That gives you all kinds of options. You might be able to get your player at 2, 3. You can trade back. I mean, there's just so many things that go with it. And if you're fearing that you're going to blow the number 1 pick, again, get a different job.
I don't know if they're fearing it. I think Bucks fans are fearing it because the Bucks fans have probably good reason to fear it because that's what this organization does is they kind of screw things up. So from that perspective, I think Bucks fans look at it and go, okay, now you're going to have 1 of 2 to take here. If you are the Cleveland Cavaliers and you are their new general manager looking at their roster as it's currently constructed, what do you do? Not what they're going to do, but what do you do?
If I'm the Cavaliers, I take Parker without a doubt. He is the best player in my mind in the draft, and it's not even close. You can talk about upside with Embiid. You can talk about upside with Wiggins. You can talk about upside with Exum. And you can go through draft after draft where people have drafted simply on upside. I mean, last year, McLemore, for instance, everybody at one point.
I would love McLemore on the Bucks.
Sacramento
wants to get rid of McLemore.
Sure.
We'll take. McLemore.
but you know, everybody at this time was saying, "Hey, he's the number 1 pick," or Noel Nerlens, you know, would be the
Noel, right?
Repeat. One of those guys, and they were all basing it upside. And look what happened. I mean, we have seen this countless times over the years where guys are picked based on potential.
That's what the NBA does.
Look at the beat, you know, same thing. They said, oh, here's an athletic big guy, you know, he's going to progress. The guy hasn't progressed, you know. So to me, it's like, hey, Parker's the guy. I've talked to enough GMs, players. They're all basically in agreement Parker's the guy. Not only that, if you're building a championship caliber team, you better have 2 big-time scorers. And right
I would
now,
give them Kyrie Irving and Jabari Parker.
Exactly. And you also look at the teams outside of San Antonio. I mean, how many of these teams really have quality big men? You know? I mean, look at Miami. Do they have a center that who anybody cares about? No. Oklahoma City? No. You know? So, I mean, if I'm Cleveland, it's a no-brainer.
Now, the interesting part of this is everybody else is going to say, well, wouldn't Cleveland be angling for LeBron James? And if that's the case, wouldn't Wiggins make more sense?
Well, first of all, I think they're wasting their time angling. I mean, James is not going to go back to Cleveland. He's going to go to a place. If he does go, I'm convinced he's not going anywhere.
He's staying in Miami.
He's staying in Miami,
right.
And they'll get him another player, you know, to replace Wade,
right.
Or if they decide to even trade Bosh, which I don't think is a total stretch. But I think that's pie in the sky to believe that James is coming back.
See,
I would not build my team on the premise that LeBron James is coming back.
And I agree with you. I tend to think if you're Cleveland, unless you have talked to LeBron James himself, and LeBron has said, hey, look, if you take Wiggins, I'll come back. Unless he has verbally told you that, then you have to just take who the best player on your board is. And if that's Jabari Parker, you take Jabari Parker. Now, in that scenario, if Parker goes there, then it's got to be Wiggins to the Bucks at 2 if that happens.
That would be my call,
Yeah.
but you know, I'm not making the decisions for the Bucks.
Because then Giannis can stay at the 3. You don't have to move him out of position. You get a legitimate score finally on the floor.
I think Parker's going to play 3.
I agree. But if you have Giannis, that presents an issue if Giannis is on this roster and you draft Jabari Parker. Because now the debate is on.
I think they'll be interchangeable forwards. I really do.
No.
And you know,
I do not believe Jabari Parker's a power forward. And I realize
you do or don't?
Do not.
No, he can be. I think he's very much like Carmelo when he plays small ball. And the Knicks obviously played a lot of small ball.
And they didn't do much.
No, but that's not Carmelo Anthony's fault. I mean, Carmelo Anthony.
Well, he shouldn't be playing the 4 to begin with.
Well, a lot of teams, though, do that. They'll play guys, you know, that are 3s, 4s. Aaron Gordon, you're going to play small ball with him, whoever takes him, right?
To a degree, yeah. Yeah,
because
to a degree.
I mean,
he's
guy,
6'9".
Yeah, I mean, he's not your 6'10", 6'11 power forward. He's not,
Julius Randle, too.
Yeah, undersized, and we can talk about those guys later. But
my point is, with Giannis, how much of a factor does he come into play here as far as where you want to play him long term? And I hear everybody going, well, he played point. Well, he played 2. Well, he played 3. Well, sure he did, but that doesn't mean that's where he should be.
Correct.
He should not be a 2 guard in this league. Absolutely not.
No, and he's not a point. I mean, he'll get killed, absolutely killed.
Occasionally bringing up the basketball, fine.
Yeah.
But not playing all these minutes like Magic Johnson at the point guard. He is not that. Joel Embiid. Let's talk about him for a second. Because odds are probably decent that he's going to be sitting there at 2 with Wiggins or Parker as well. Mm-hmm. And Joel Embiid fits what John Hammond does more than these other 2 guys. John Hammond, in his career in Milwaukee, drafts projects. That's what we do. We draft Larry Sanders, and we project. We draft Brandon Jennings. We project. We draft Tobias Harris. We project. We draft, who was the other one that we drafted?
Joe Alexander.
Well, Joe Alexander. And then Giannis.
You can't forget the great Joe Alexander.
Right, and Giannis, and we project. And the philosophy is simple. His philosophy is, because most of the time they're not in the top 3. Most of the time they're down in the middle of the lottery. And he says, we got to find a superstar. The only way we're going to do it is in the draft. So I'm hoping to swing and hit a home run on one of these. And that's why you're doing it. Well, now it changes in the top 3, Gary. Because I don't think you have to swing for the fences in the top 3 and hope you hit it.
Not at all.
Because now you've got a for sure thing, in my opinion, in Wiggins or Parker. I don't think he has to do it with Embiid.
To me, this is the most important draft pick in the history of the Bucks.
I think since Glenn.
Well, no, even before that. The only possibility was when they picked Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And he was just an instant changer. But if they don't get this right, let's say they take Embiid, and Embiid comes along 3 weeks into the season with his back hurt, the situation is going to be very comparable to what it was last year. Nobody's going to be coming to the Bradley Center. If nobody comes to the Bradley Center, there's no buzz on the Bucks. People are not going to get on board about supporting an arena. And when that tax question comes up, they're going to say, no way. And 3 years from now, they might be the Seattle Bucks. This guy's got to come in and produce. So,
they're not moving. Would you just stop with that? They're not moving. I don't think there's any chance of them moving.
I think there's a chance, but I don't think it's legitimate. I mean, there's going to be more money coming into this fund from the private sector. So I mean, but again, from a Bucks standpoint, from a fan standpoint, and attendance standpoint, they got to hit a home run with this pick. They can't have somebody that's going to come in and say, well, you know what? 3-4 years from now, the Bucks have been awful for the most part for the last 7 years. Mm-hmm. Fans,
but they've been in the playoffs. They've been fighting for the 8th seed. That's what a majority.
And both times they got into the playoffs basically by default because they were in the worst conference.
Right, but nobody wanted to listen to me, who asked to do this for years. And everybody said, "Oh, we don't want to tear down and rebuild. It doesn't work. We'll continue to battle for the 8th seed." Fine. So now you know what? Now that we maybe are listening to me. Now that you stunk last year, you stink this year too.
Yeah, you know what?
You come back and you get another top 3, top 5 pick, and you go back up there and you have a shot at getting one again. Because next year, this is my other argument against Embiid. Next year, there are going to be 2 outstanding bigs that are going to be freshmen in college next year. Both of those 2 guys are going to be probably the top 2 picks in the draft next year. Get your big next year and get your wing player this year.
Again, you're going on the premise that they're going to be god-awful again.
That's what I'm looking for.
And I don't think they're in a situation where they can be god-awful anymore.
I'll tell you what I'd do. I'm going to give you the pipe dream. The Sparky dream scenario, okay?
There we go.
And that's what this is. It's just a dream.
So you're bringing back Don Nelson as coach, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar center, Oscar Robertson as guard.
Don't take me, don't write this down and go, oh my God, Sparky thinks they're going to do this. I don't think they're going to do this at all.
No, they're not going to.
But I'm just telling you, kind of going off of the movie Draft Day where Kevin Costner is just going crazy in the draft room, trading everybody. This is kind of what I'm thinking.
Okay.
Because if I remember correctly, and tell me if I'm wrong, the current GM of the Cavaliers, David Griffin, who I believe during the course of the season had some interest in one Larry Sanders along the way, right?
Okay, to what degree? Yeah.
Well, no, but there was reports of it.
Right. Okay. But the interest in Larry Sanders is
fine.
Zero.
But what if the Bucks went to Cleveland and said, look, we'll give you Larry, and salaries, figure that out, whatever.
Right.
But we'll give you Larry Sanders, and we'll give you an unprotected one in 2016.
Okay.
That's what we'll give you for number one, okay? Or in a second-round pick or 2 second round, however they want to do. Because if their Bucks second-round pick, it's going to be right there at the top of the second, whatever. You figure out a way to get one and get that deal done, and now you can have Parker and Wiggins. Then I go to Philly, and I trade Giannis to Philly and whatever to get 3 and take Embiid. And I take all 3 of them. And next year, it's Brandon Knight, Wiggins, Parker, Henson, and Embiid is my starting 5. And pretty much what I say is, these are our new big 3. This is who we're rolling with. Because to your point,
I'll tell you what,
if you're the new owner and you look at Giannis.
Well, from the Bucks standpoint, it makes all the sense in the world.
Well, fans would be fuming if they traded Giannis. I'm telling you right now, if they moved Giannis to take Embiid, fans would lose their mind. They'd be furious. I know they would be because Embiid is risky.
I would understand it if they traded to get Embiid.
Because Philly doesn't need Embiid. If it gets to that scenario, Philly's going to look to move.
Cleveland has zero interest. I mean, there might be one team in the league that might have interest in Larry Sanders now, and it's basically like give him.
Sure.
You know, his stock is like an all-time low, and put this in writing. We haven't heard the end of the Larry Sanders story this season.
What if you package Henson and an unprotected number 1 in 2016?
Cleveland,
is that enough?
No way. Cleveland.
That's not enough.
No, I mean, let's go on your premise again. I love the word premise today.
Yes.
That Wiggins is the best player in the draft. Yes. Why would they give that up?
Well, this is what I'm looking at.
I mean, for a guy that's a potential superstar, or a Parker who I think they're going to take eventually.
Well, see, that's what I don't know.
Another potential superstar.
I'm going off with the story that I saw last night, that Cleveland is keeping options open and trading that pick.
But wouldn't you rather have, I mean, the bottom line is, who would you rather have at center 3-4 years from now, Embiid or Larry Sanders? Again, a no-brainer.
I don't know.
Oh, come
on.
No,
no.
It's not even
Gary,
close.
No, this is what I'm saying. Yeah. All I'm saying is you're looking at it from if Embiid is healthy. I agree with you. If Embiid is healthy, it's not close.
Right.
I agree.
Right.
But if the uncertainty of the injury costs Embiid, and it may cost Embiid early in this draft, if it does, and if Cleveland's scared off by that, maybe Cleveland would rather go with this guy who I know at least is going to block shots and be a difference maker on the back end when somebody blows by Kyrie Irving or whatever the case may be.
Right.
And then we get an unprotected one, and Bucks aren't going to be all that great in 2 years, so that might be a lottery pick again, where we might have 2 lottery picks in 2 years.
It's Sanders' reputation. Nobody's touching him. I mean, the Bucks will literally have to throw in. First of all, they're not going to give up the number 1 pick.
Cleveland.
Can you imagine the Cavalier Nation? Yeah, we just traded the number 1 pick so we could get Larry Sanders.
All right,
and somewhere down the
line. Let's flip it.
Okay.
Let's say Embiid goes 1 to Cleveland.
Yeah,
okay?
Yeah.
They've been known to screw things up.
Absolutely.
Let's say they take Embiid at 1.
Right.
They come back and they take
the Bucks.
Wiggins at 2.
Right.
That's who Philly wanted at 2 at that point, right? And now Philly's at 3 and 10. Would you then consider moving Giannis?
I would consider moving Giannis in a heartbeat.
So you would?
It depending upon the scenario. I mean, it's not like we got Magic Johnson on our hands here in Milwaukee, you know?
I agree.
I mean, the guy has not. Everybody is basing this on upside. We just don't know.
And he's got a ton. Sure. Now, will he develop? I don't know. All I'm saying is, if you can add Wiggins and Parker immediately next year, you have 2 guys that can score, 17 to 20 points a night. Immediately to go with Brandon Knight, and now we go.
You got it. I mean, you're right. That would be a dream scenario.
That's all I'm saying.
I'm totally on board with it.
If I can get that done, I'm doing that. I love Giannis. This is nothing against Giannis and how good I think he will or won't be. I'm just looking at it from the Bucks standpoint. I can add 2 legitimate scores right now. I don't know if Giannis will ever average 20 points. I don't know that. I know Parker can, and I know Wiggins can, and do it in short order as well on this team next year. To have Knight, Parker, and Wiggins to go with Sanders and Henson or Ilyasova,
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. Let's go. I'll take my chances and see what happens.
Yeah, well, no
right?
question. Totally on board with it.
He's Gery Woelfel of the Racine Journal-Times, Steve Sparky, Fifer of the Wendy's Big Show. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of Sports Junkies. See you next time.